All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy rainy. And now it's probably going to snow. It's fun. Winter's back. It's the recap lunch hour with Guff with me, Ryan McGuffey, here on the recap. Happy Friday, everybody. It's crazy because I put a question out there and I want to know I definitely want to know because I don't really have a good answer for it. I really don't. This will be the first weekend without football in what, 6 months? Right? January, December, November, October. Yeah, 6 months. First week with no football in 6 months. And it's like, okay, well, what's our outlet? Well, the Bulls are terrible. They're about to blow things up, right? Next week's the NBA trade deadline. They're terrible. The Blackhawks, they're terrible. Connor Bedard got another goal last night, his 15th. They lost again, so they're no good. And obviously, the people have difficulty seeing them with the CHSN stuff. So, what do we got? I mean, Illinois basketball, they lost to Nebraska last night. That's a terrible loss. We don't have a lot to hang our hat on. And then we have the Cubs and the White Sox getting ready for spring training, and everybody's frustrated. And I get that too. Like, I'm looking at the Big Ten standings. I'll get to, by the way, I'll get to the bet of the day later on in the show. If you watch any of that Oregon UCLA game last night, like I did, because I'm a degenerate. Oh boy, do I have questions. Then you have Northwestern. They're bottom of the Big Ten, 3-7. Illinois is okay, but what's going on? What do we got? Lip Ripper says, living in Florida, I just go fishing and drink some beer. And that's pretty much, it sounds like, where we are. I mean, we can't even go fishing up here. I guess we can, but that's where we are. I'm like, I really want to know, like, what are we supposed to look for? I mean, I would say at this point, certainly good time to maybe do some spring cleaning. I mean, I'm like looking around going, well, I guess that garage project's coming up, you know? Let's see what Clyde says. I'm at work. I watch college basketball, NBA basketball. The Cubs are irking me, and I'm a Sox fan. There's a lot going on there, Clyde, right? I mean, you got two leagues that are on right now, and we got two teams in Chicago that are Eric, happy Friday. Question for you. Based out of all the Chicago sports teams, who do you think will make a huge impact this year in 2025? My two teams are thinking of the Bears and Cubs. Your thoughts? I mean, by default, Eric, I mean, you can't say the Bulls and Hawks because they're both terrible. The Bulls are about to blow it up. Joe Cowley on his latest podcast with Billy Donovan, by the way, kind of walking down the era of college basketball, the glory days of college basketball with Billy Donovan. At the end, Joe does his list, and he said the five Bulls updated list of the five players he expects to be traded. Vooch, number one. I mean, the Bears and Cubs by default, Eric. The Bears and Cubs, and like we're kind of hanging on a thread here. The Pebble Beach Pro-Am is this weekend. That is true. Like, it is starting to be golf season. Clyde, I know. That's where we are, man. We're just kind of in like being let down by Chicago sports. It's a tough time. I think arguably it's the toughest time in the history of my life. You got to go back. I mean, it's coming, let's say 45 years. We've always had at least a team. It's like, okay, so maybe the Cubs are that team. Maybe the Cubs they can get their stuff together. The Alex Bregman stuff is still out there. Okay. Alex Bregman, very much still in play. It doesn't seem like, so it sounds like the Tigers are a team that are going after Alex Bregman, and they have been all offseason. He's just trying to figure out if he wants to go there. I don't know if he wants to be in Detroit. Supposedly, according to a report by John Heyman, there's a team that has a 6-year offer on the table for him other than Houston. My guess is that it's maybe Detroit. It's not the Cubs. And then there's people saying, keep an eye on the Cubs. Keep an eye on the Cubs in the Dylan Cease trade. We said that yesterday. Did you see the NHL salary cap is going to increase? Which, yeah, usually it does go up a little bit year by year, Lip Ripper. So yeah, that's good for the Hawks, but like they need to develop these guys. All of their prospects are pretty much in the lower ranks. And so it's just taking a long time. Clyde, going to Wrigley Field for a Cubs White Sox game is on my bucket list. Clyde, I would suggest waiting until the Sox are actually decent again because it's fun when both teams are good. The last couple of years have not been as fun covering those games. It's just I've gone to a lot of those games. I've covered a lot of those games, fortunately, and it's not the same as it once was. Ever since both teams have won the World Series, it kind of lost that this is our World Series feel, which is a good thing, by the way, because of the alternative, which was not winning the World Series. I would wait, though. When both teams are really good, it's a lot more fun. The fans are into it. So keep that on your bucket list, Clyde. Give it at least another year because you want the White Sox to be competitive in these games. Okay. I feel like it's a slow Friday. We got slow sports. We got kind of slow, a late arriving crowd here today for the lunch hour. And we got a lot going on. Like, so Zach LaVine's out, as we know, for the next 2 games. He missed the Boston game due to the birth of his, I think, 3rd child. But it's convenient that he's going to be out. It's going to basically take him right into the trade deadline. Although, talking to Joe, it sounds like while the Bulls would love to move Zach LaVine, it's that contract's an albatross. And in order to match it, they are willing to get into the Jimmy Butler trade. That thing could be a 3, 4, 5 team deal. And so the dominoes that need to fall in the NBA are kind of Jimmy Butler, De'Aaron Fox, and then I think from there, Vooch becomes part of the group. That's what, according to Joe. David, happy Friday. What's the best odds on who scores the first touchdown in the Super Bowl and who's my pick? Well, let's get that. I'll lose my light here in order to give you best Super Bowl odds on the touchdowns. Best odds right now, first touchdown. My guess is going to be Saquon Barkley, but it might be Kelsey too. Let's take a look. Anytime. First touchdown score, Saquon Barkley, plus 420. Jalen Hurts, plus 650. Travis Kelce, plus 800. If I were making a pick, Kareem Hunt at 850, plus 850 is pretty juicy to me. Xavier Worthy at 10-1. What's Patrick Mahomes, by the way? I could see that happening. I could see a Patrick Mahomes 18-1. I'm clearly riding the Chiefs train right now. That's my plan. I can't bet against Mahomes. I can't do it. Good afternoon. The Blackhawks won't be relevant again until they get better management. Hey, Phil, the real Phil Sims. I think that you could insert name here. You could scratch off Blackhawks, say Bulls. You could scratch off Bulls and say what? Like, that's just how it feels. I want to go to Comiskey Park with my girlfriend and her kids on Family Sunday this year, win or lose. All right, Clyde, you should go, dude. I thought you already said you were doing that. I thought you said. That's a great experience, man. You should do that. Cheaper. Parking's cheaper that day. The kids can run the bases. I don't know how old they are, but that'll work. I went last year to the Sox Marlins game in Miami. Wow. Those were 2 bad teams, my friend. And that was some bad baseball besides seeing Berger play. Now Jake Berger's in Texas. So that's crazy. Those 2 teams are terrible. I think, wasn't Tim Anderson already cut at that point too? I think that's the key. Clyde saying to Phil, the Hawks need bullies at defensemen and a goaltender that stops everything that looks like a puck. Hey, that's what we're in a talent. We are in a talent deficit here in Chicago across the board. We got great players in some spots. Kyle Tucker, one of the best players in the game. We got Connor Bedard, one of the best players in the game. But when you don't put stuff around him, it makes it awfully tough. Tim was still there. Okay. He got cut shortly after that, I think. So how do you fill the void? The girls, yeah, you guys can run the bases for sure. You guys can run the bases. We see this. This was yesterday. I read a report about Luis Robert Jr. The Cubs signed Brad Keller. The White Sox had him last year to a minor league deal. No one's getting excited by that. By the way, we'll have White Sox pitching coach Ethan Katz on the White Sox Recap podcast next week. I really do look forward to that. Are the Bears the favorites to land Trey Smith in free agency? That's exciting. That's in March, though. That's like, how do we get to March? I think we're just going to have to enjoy some things that are outside of the sports world, certainly outside of Chicago sports. I mean, let's be honest. From an old show, have you tried the Costco trick going an hour before closing? Oh, that's bringing up. That's going back when we first started doing the lunch hour. I have yet to do that, Lip, but I forgot. You know, it's funny. I'm looking over there at like our to-do list on the fridge, and Costco is written there. But it is a weekend. We talked about the Costco weekend rule. Maybe going the last hour on a Saturday is not still not bad. I don't know. Thoughts on Brandon Hughes returning to the Cubs? I mean, again, I'm putting Brandon Hughes in the old. He had an 8.16 ERA last year. So I mean, his career ERA, so yeah, in 2022, he had a 3.12 ERA. He was actually a really good pitcher out of the bullpen. And then the last two seasons, he's only pitched in 32 games, but God, he's been awful. Here's his last 31 1/3. Okay. 27 earned, 10 home runs, 18 walks, 38 hits. I don't know what I'm supposed to be excited about. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be excited about. Eric, I think the Bears should go after Trey Smith because that would Trey Smith might be the highest paid guard in football after that contract. So now we should not complain about that. At some point, you're going to have to step up. Got to go Tuesdays. Yeah. Costco Tuesdays, hour before close. I would think that's prime supermarket sweep type stuff. Let's get to the bet of the day. We'll wrap this show up earlier today. The comments aren't as frequent, and we don't need to sit here for a half an hour. It's a slower day. I'll tell you what, folks. I will tell you what. Oregon is terrible. I mean, they could not buy a bucket. This thing had a fury of points last night before the half. And in the second half, UCLA just put on an absolute clinic. Oregon couldn't hit it wide open layups. They were missing dunks. It was embarrassing. Today, this could be an 0 for week. Hey, Lip, I need you. Okay? We need you. Because I'm telling you what, man, I got whatever you had last week. It's been an 0 for week. This is we're at our season low watermark. We're at 15-21-1. What'd you do? Did you stay up and watch that horrible game? That game was terrible. At halftime, we were kind of sitting pretty. It was on pace for 139.5. Feeling good about it. UCLA did what they were supposed to do. Okay, so I'm going to ride Bradley Beal. He's been in the news. Obviously, he won't waive his no trade clause. There's been some talks about him coming to the Bulls in order to get Zach LaVine out of here, but he won't waive his no trade clause. He's actually been playing pretty decent lately, and I think there's some motivation now. And Phoenix is going to have to, if they're not going to be able to move him, they got to play him. They're playing Golden State tonight. He's missed their last game against them, but he scored 28 against them earlier this year. I'm going to go Bradley Beal tonight. I'm going Bradley Beal over the 12.5. I like this number. I feel good about it. But you know what? And I'm not complaining about being on the wrong side of some bets this week. A couple of them, you think about Russell Westbrook missing a tip dunk that would have put him over earlier this week. I gave the number at 14.5. It went off at 13.5. It cashed at 13.5. It didn't cash there. I feel awesome about Purdue kicking IU's ass. I honestly do. I don't like Indiana. I do not like Indiana tonight. Isn't that game at Purdue? I think that game's at Purdue. I'm looking it up right now. I think I really like. I'd lay the 11.5 there, Lip. I understand where you're going with like rivalry game and keeping it close. But ever since Purdue, and Purdue last week was my pick on Friday, it was the easiest number we've covered to serve. They haven't played Purdue. Keep in mind, they haven't played in a week. Their last game was last Friday. So they've been getting some work in. They've been healing. They're at home. I really like Purdue. I should make that my play. I love Purdue tonight. I love Indiana's in shambles. They are. Ever since that fight to Illinois, they've lost 3 out of 4. They lost to Maryland by 1 earlier this week. They've lost some. They beat Ohio State, but they're just a bad team and they're badly coached. I did not. And you know what? That's on me. You guys are giving out you're giving out picks and I'm not playing them. I got lost in the shuffle last night, had a lot going on, and I forgot to lay. I saw that game too, and it hadn't tipped off yet. And I thought, oh, I got to get that Memphis play in. Yeah, I'm going Boilers. Definitely going Boilers tonight. Definitely going Boilers tonight. The Bulls are trying to move Zach. The contract fill is tough. Hey, you gonna ride with me, Lip, on Bradley Beal? Because I may go Beal and Purdue, and I might parlay them too. I don't like Indiana. They're it's a little toxic what's going on there. And I think, look, it's a rivalry game. Purdue's going to be rocking. They've only lost 1 home game this year. And I think that woke them up. I really do. I think they lost to Ohio State a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 10 days ago, they lost to Ohio State at home, and they put the pounding. They scored 91 against Michigan in an absolute blowout. That thing was over early. And I just really like them at home. They've been laying the wood. They beat Nebraska by 32 at home, Northwestern by 18 at home, Toledo by 19 at home, Marshall by 35, Alabama by that was a tournament game. But yeah, so let's ride. Yeah, ride with me. Let's go. Jerry, what's up, my friend? Who does $1 Million Marco like in the Upper Iowa Teachers Guide? Jerry comes hot with these inside numbers, man, or these inside stories that you either know or you don't. And most likely you don't, people, which is okay. Yeah, Lip, let's ride. Hey, we're only giving out 1 pick of the day, but I'm going Boilers too as a sub pick. Kind of like that. I want to flip it at this point. I should have ridden with it. We're going to go with Bradley Beal, and we're going to lay the 11.5 with Purdue. Everybody have an awesome, awesome weekend. Enjoy it. I'm looking forward to catching up on Monday and seeing how you spent your time, because there's no Chicago sports are what they are. The Bulls do play tonight, but God, it's a mess. The Pro Bowl games, I don't know. Some people liked that yesterday. It's tough to watch. The skills challenge, it's a flag football game on Sunday. If anyone's interested, the Bulls are at Toronto tonight at 6:30. Again, Toronto stinks. I'd probably take the Raptors in that game. But the Bulls are terrible. I'm looking at their schedule right now. I don't think that they play tomorrow night. So yeah, so we have no Bulls basketball tomorrow either. And then the Bulls play Detroit at 2 o'clock on Sunday. All right, we're wrapping this thing up. Appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Maybe live at the Pebble Beach on Sunday. Yeah, well, all degenerates, right? Dave Robertson is a Cub by opening day. True or false? I'm going to say I'll say true. I think they need him. Let's see if it gets done. Have a great weekend for everybody at the Recap. This has been the Lunch Hour with Guff, me, Ryan McGuffey. Thanks to you guys, as always, for being part of the community. Keep an eye on our Recap Rush Hour later, a Bulls recap tonight, and a new Bulls podcast with Billy Donovan has dropped on the channel. We'll see you guys Monday. Have a great